Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Good morning, children. This is from our good friend Bacon Maldito, which you can find at thegoddamnbacon.com. Hey, Cappy, editing this now. Blah, blah, blah. Random stuff. I'm trying to edit it because this is long as hell. The following is an as of now hypothetical situation that may or may not happen in the near future, the responsibility of which I cannot confirm or deny having any part in as part of a nefarious plot to wipe out the inferiors in the human race, allegedly. The scenario starts off with reports on the news about a mysterious disease that, for unknown reasons at the time, targets humans with, as will be discovered later, an average tested IQ of 120 and below. Oh my, there's going to be like, what, 10% of the population left? More interesting is the fact that it's also based on gender, with men at 129 and below and women at 114 below, succumbing to what would become a worldwide pandemic affecting 95% of the population, which for decades later would be known as the Great Retarded Gene Cleansing Virus. Much to the chagrin of the CDC, the virus is not only airborne but also liquid-borne, the latter being the only way to infect those with required IQ to withstand the airborne variety, and though a cure is found, it becomes much too late. You haven't pondered this at all, have you, Bacon? As for the symptoms themselves, it would be less like The Walking Dead and closer to 28 days later. So these are not shambling human target practice, but more in line with the fast zombies. I'm woefully... When that whole zombie fad came out and the odds like, oh, zombie this, zombie that. Now, Woody Harrelson has a zombie movie. I didn't do the zombie stuff. You're talking the zombies in the Brad Pitt one where they're really fast and quick. These are not shambling human target, but more in line with the fast zombies. They're able to infect the remaining 5% of the population, but unlike fast zombies of the video game and movie variety, they gain no superpowers to compensate for their loss of humanity and coherent thought, alive but still limited by their squishy human bodies. Dude, I don't understand what you just wrote there. So the zombies infect the remaining 5% of them, but unlike the fast zombies of the video game, the movie variety, they gain no superpowers to compensate for their loss of humanity, alive but still limited by squishy human bodies. So my question would be to stress test my own contingency plan should this hypothetical situation become a reality, as well as provide your own insights in the matter, seeing that I had no hand in this whatsoever. I will also have the same information as everyone else, having no leg up and seeing this coming. The early game would include hearing an increased amount of news stories of humans attacking each other, but in a more animalistic kind of way, scratching and biting as if they have rabies. The odd part of the news cycle is that, one, you're hearing rumors of an upcoming pandemic, the likes of which the real world has never seen, by alternative sources like Molyneux, Crowder, and perhaps the asshole of Captain Capitalism himself. No, I don't. Old Captain don't watch news. Don't watch news. It drives my blood pressure up. And there's no real news anymore. It's all lies. It's all lies. There's no reason to listen to it. Himself, if he hasn't gone off the grid already. But more frightening is, too, the mainstream also starts to pick up on this, knowing that it isn't an isolated incident, but a globally spread one and an accelerating one that no medical group seems to be able to stem. How long is this, Bacon? Oh my God. Not every high IQ person would have their spidey senses tingling, but anyone who listens to this channel will more than likely be prepared for such a scenario. Did I skip a paragraph? No. But anyone who listens to this channel will more than likely be prepared for such a scenario, though the preparation would be more for government or economic collapse in their own stockpile. Should more than suffice for this scenario, save for basic zombie-specific items as a respirator, skin covering, armor of some sort. Aside from that, we assume the person who's preparing plans to survive the 95% of humanity, quite literally coming for your brains to have enough firearms ammo to fend off a platoon of Spetsnaz let alone mindless drones. Silver to trade with the 2 to 4% that also survive, plus long-lasting food, power banks for other devices. Side note, I doubt the internet will stay down, at least not for long. It was built to survive attack when other communities... 2A radios at a shit... Okay, got it, Bacon. Got it. The obvious option is to pack up everything you can in haste and hit the roads to somewhere that is safe. The problem with that is, since it is an obvious solution, every jamoke will do the same, causing a road backup that even LA or Seattle traffic in its worst days could only dream of, making you a sitting target. Should an onslaught of inferiors find you in a flea market of immobile brain food. Therefore, I find it best to bunker down and ride out the first wave, making sure you keep the lighting to a minimum. And basically going ghost as much as possible, defending any attacks from the mob at range and staying invisible to any non-infected that are taking advantage of the situation to stockpile their own resources from yours. Though this would be a lesser concern, as most resources would be open for the taking. It will also help if you have someone that also cannot be infected by the airborne virus to hold down the fort should you need to venture out to gather resources, but for the purposes of this scenario, you are alone. Therefore, it's vital that you have some sort of armor that will mitigate any bodily fluid transfusion, and a melee weapon, which I would say a machete is the most effective, but a blunt force trauma type that offers more range, such as a staff, would be safer, though this assumes you have a reasonable training to wield them efficiently. They come with the benefit of not having a loud bang when being used, not drawing attention to yourself as you would simply use a shotgun. In summary, the best option is to hunker down, surviving off of what you already have, waiting for the right moment to move. The mid-scenario would look something like the following. Most of the human population has been infected, now roaming the streets of what was once a prosperous civilization, now more or less in ruins, though not destroyed as they would have been in open war. By now it is more clear of who is a zombie, who isn't, as the latter start to reach out to find any survivors to band together, though some will choose to remain alone, unable to trust anyone. It is at this time you make your move. Should one be available, whether it is to replenish your own existing resources or ammunition, or to head towards a more secure compound, in my case, a friend that lives closer to country land with a fresh water supply running directly through her farm. If the possibility of using a motor vehicle is possible, that would be the best way, but it is likely most roads will be inaccessible, clogged with vehicles, or of those that tried to escape, the riding remains still in the seats. Therefore, while keeping your own vehicle, should you find a clear way out, it would be best to have a bicycle handy, preferably one with lots of storage capacity and gears that climb hills without you having to disembark. This alone will give you a minimum of 3 times the speed per calories used to travel, and they are far easier to repair than a motor vehicle. Once in the new bunker, hopefully gathering resources along the way, you start to reach out, either by what internet sources are left or radio, to find others and assess the situation the best you can. Most likely, since the 95% of the human machinery that produces most resources, said resources will now be sparse, meaning for now, most have to fend themselves off and their groups. Thank God, there's only 3 more paragraphs left. It is at this point that the survivor's specialties will come into play. Someone is good at gadgetry, or they'll get the internet and servers back online. Another guy worked the Bakken oil field, so he instructs a right-take group to get the local refinery back online, enough to give remaining vehicles enough fuel to travel the country a few times over, make transport available again. By the same token, those with mechanical knowledge would have to fix said vehicles, not to mention retrieving my own, which has an unusually long range given its fuel capacity, meaning my driving skills would also be put to use. Someone could be a gardener, ranch hand, yet another guns. Okay, got it. The long game would be the trickiest of them all, as by that time someone has found the cure to the virus is currently in the works of making it globally available. Should air transports be available during the time? At that time, the question is this. By now, the survivors know that the virus targeted lower IQ people, which have been the cause of many of the societal problems that plague the world before the virus ever took place. What's more is that those who succumbed to bodily fluid form clearly weren't prepared enough or were caught off guard. A true survival of the fittest. So now that we have a tight-knit working society as a frankly superior people, a disproportionate amount being women, as they have a higher threshold for airborne version. Okay. Is there any? I thought you were killing them off in equal amounts. So there was 5% men, 5% women. Is there any reason to save the remaining zombies at all? Or as I would prefer, does it make any more sense to immunize yourself to the virus and proceed the video game style and go on a killing spree game with them? Keep in mind those affected would be the types that caused the housing crash, are responsible for stupid wars, parasite offload. See, that's not necessarily the case. That's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of evil, stupid people. That's some of the most evil people were geniuses. I know your point. Keep in mind those affected would be the type that cause the harm. Parasite off the welfare system to pay for 14 different kids from 6 different fathers. Fathers of 14 different kids from 19 different mothers. In the long game, though, it wouldn't be the bread circuses world we have the luxury of living in now. We'd be far better off just letting the virus stay rampant, taking over any human susceptible, leaving those smart enough alone. Sure, that means a lot more death for humanity, but ask yourself, is it worse than anything you have now? So, of your need a question... Dude, how drunk were you when you wrote this? So of you need a question for this request, it is this: how does the plan fare out? Do you have any criticisms or add one to the surviving this scenario? And do you believe your own bug out plan will withstand this pandemic? See you in the Pacific Northwest, Bacon. So how does the plan fare out? Well, you're going to go with 2 to 4% of the population. Cleanup costs alone, I mean, you're going to have small little farms and villages. You're not going to go and try and repopulate the cities. It's going to be a long road to quote-unquote recovery. You don't have the population to keep the infrastructure of even one major city up. So it's going to be smaller communities. Zombies would die out. You wouldn't be able to make the, well, let's cure it, because who's your leader? Who's going to decide that? I would say you wouldn't even inoculate the zombies running around. Because why would you? Why would you take the risk? Unless you could do the airborne. I guess maybe if that's what you're saying, you launch it in the air. I would say, me personally, I would cure the zombies because just in my own experiences, yeah, I do hate the normies, conformies, and inferiors. But keep in mind, conformies, you could see people with high IQs conforming. Inferiors also include evil people. And especially in banking, there were some dickhead smart people, some truly evil smart people. I would say just do it because the environment would be so much more hard. There's no more welfare. You're not going to get the parasites. But, with no welfare, you're not going to have 14 kids from 9 different fathers. That just won't happen. They'll self-select out. You don't have WIC. You don't have TAMF. You don't have all these programs. You don't have the government taxing you at 40% GDP. It's just not. That kind of solves itself. And I think you're just going to need labor. Frankly, you can't have a bunch of generals and no soldiers in an army. You need workers. That's great that the Bakken oil field worker can get the oil refinery going on. Who's going to drive the truck to get the oil to where it needs to go? They're not going to pull the mechanic off the line. You need and the world needs ditch diggers too. Caddyshack, great movie. Go see it. But it is true. You got, in your scenario, you got too many chiefs, not enough Indians, too many generals, not enough soldiers. And if you'd like, farming, there's another example. Your food production could go up if you have some general labor. So that's what I would do. But under the assumption, I mean, you'd have a monarch, a benevolent king. Here's the rules, kid. Your Negans, who wasn't so benevolent, but we're not having committees to form things about sensitivity training in the village. It's like, no, you man the guns, and make sure the zombies don't come. You get your ass into the field, make sure we got food to eat. You guys work on this virus or that thing. You work on that, and yeah, a lot of your problems go away because the welfare state would be destroyed by the zombie apocalypse. So yeah, I'd save some zombies because then. But if you want to worry about the future, you know, make sure you never have democracy ever again. Have a republic, restrict voting rights to landowners. But for your short, medium, even long-term concerns, I'd issue the vaccine. Do you have any criticisms or add one thing to surviving this scenario? No, you did a pretty thorough job. I just... If you're the type to be a survivalist, what are you doing in a major metro? Do you believe your own bug-out plan would withstand this pandemic? Yes, because I intend on living in a very low-populated area that's easily defensible. And have a close-knit group of friends, or at least neighbors, that all own guns and would protect themselves. So there you go. Okay, Bacon. I hope that was worth it. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. Toodles.